Where did
definitely.
you grow up, Kenzie? I know it was in Texas, but I'm not sure where.
So I was born in Temple, Texas, about an hour and a half north of Austin, and then I moved to Bulverde, which is outside of Spring Branch, outside of San Antonio, if we're thinking about a city, out in the hill country. I moved out there when I was 5 and lived there, grew up there until I was about 13, and then moved to Nashville. So I'm kind of I always say I'm a Texas Tennessee hybrid, but I grew up in the hill country. That's my core for
Yeah.
sure. And Temple is kind of like just past the northern tip of the hill country, and where I live right now is the very northern tip of the hill country. So the hill country is where my heart resides.
Yeah, and I mean, we chatted with you back in the day, and you were essentially a child artist. I mean, you were a kid performer, and all of that. Got started
Yeah,
really, 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 really young, at like age 6. So this is
yeah,
really all you've ever known, right?
for sure, for sure. Yeah. I actually when I when I talk to my therapist, he's like, "So what do you like to do for fun? What are your hobbies?" I'm like, does it have to be different than music? Because
Yeah.
that's all I do. Um, but yeah, that's all I've known. And even in school, I graduated a year early from high school because I was like, I'm ready to just do music. And I was a preschool teacher for about 3 years and was a nanny and all of that. So childcare was big in my life for about 8 years when I was young. And that really has had an impact on me where I would love to be a part of helping children in some way at some point.
Is there, like, looking back at look, I mean, the music business is hard for an adult, as you know. I mean, just trying to do that as a kid, and then be a kid too, right? Like, focus on school, focus on, friendships, and all the things that we're supposed to do as kids. Looking back at that now, do you have any regrets of not doing something more kid friendly on the side? You know what I mean? Like, was there balance between being a kid and the music?
Yeah, there was some balance for sure. I tried to do sports, and it just wasn't my thing. I don't like competing, and I love to be a part of a team, but I don't like to compete. So, and I'm not that athletic. Like I can do workouts and stuff, but my both my siblings were in sports and they were like track stars and really good at it. And so I tried my hardest just to have something outside of music. It didn't work out. So I did dance, and I loved that. And I mean, pretty much all of it was music. And I do feel like looking back, I don't regret it, but I do feel like I missed out in some ways as a child, with childlike play and childhood stuff. Because, performing all the time and being having to have my face on and you know the mask, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
was really adult and very mature thinking. And so my mind, I feel like, has been an adult since I was far too young.
Yeah, and
Um,
it
yeah,
makes me curious if that's kind of why you had that passion for childcare there for a while too. Like,
for sure, for sure. I think that now too, I am getting back in touch with my inner child, where I'm trying to find things that is that I kind of missed out on, in my childhood. And so I'm trying to find things that are like hobbies and childlike play. And uh, yeah, I loved experiencing everything I experienced as a child.
yeah,
I did some pretty incredible things as a little girl, and looking back, it's weird because I'm still the same soul. So if I felt the same back then as I do now, if that makes sense,
sure,
like,
yeah.
um, as far as the core of me. So I do miss. being a kid, like not having to worry about bills and worry about just life in general.
I think that's all of us, though, right?
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I don't regret anything. I know that I've asked myself that a lot. I wrote a song called "Would I," and it's like, would I change it if I knew the end? And I've thought a lot, like all these things that I regret or things that I may not be super proud of. Would I change them? You know, would I go back and make a different decision? I might think that in the moment right now, but it wouldn't have led me to where I am now. And so really I wouldn't change any course of action because I wouldn't be here. And
Yeah, I mean, because any small decision or choice can have monumental impacts on our life. And I mean, who knows what would change based on the smallest thing, right? That
for
butterfly
sure,
effect. Let me ask you this: as a kid, did was music kind of an escape for you from real life things?
absolutely. It was a way for me to be heard and to be seen. And it was a way of escape for sure. And I didn't realize that when I was super young. I didn't know that that was really the core reason why I wanted to perform and be on stage in front of people and like get that validation or get that applause. But you know, I've been very open online about things that have happened to me in my life and especially as a young girl. And so it makes sense that I was looking for something to help me not have to live in that reality and not have to be in that mentality all the time. So for sure.
Getting out
I
of that
think
headspace, right?
yeah, for sure. And also when I first started writing songs, I was 13 and I would write things that I hadn't experienced. And I would put myself in other people's shoes and think of different scenarios like cheating and heartbreak. And I was writing very mature themes, but it was also a way for me to just kind of get out of my own reality. And yeah, definitely an escape.
So you talk about that mask. That mask can be two sided, right? Like it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, right? So like,
Yeah.
I completely understand, and I think it's interesting that I mean, at 13 years old, you've already been performing music for half of your life. At that point, you're already essentially a veteran in the industry. You've already performed on the Opry a couple of times with some massively known bands, right? At the time,
Yeah.
and so, what's that look like for you as a youngster going from kind of a performer, a child performer, now you want to write? Like, where's that inspiration coming from to take that step?
You know, it's interesting because I started writing poems probably about the same time that I started writing or I started performing, excuse me. And I never thought that songwriting would be a part of my career or my life, honestly. I loved performing, and my dad encouraged me to pick up the guitar. He was like, you know, most singers, female singers, this at this time are not really guitar players. They're performers. So if you want to stand out, you know, pick up an instrument. So I picked up the guitar. I had tried fiddle. I had done piano, and I loved those, but I didn't practice enough,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't super passionate about it. So when I picked up the guitar and I taught myself a couple of chords, the songs just started falling out of me and without me really having to try. So that was a whole new outlet. That was a whole new escape of wow, I have these words and these melodies in my head that I didn't even know were in there and they're just falling out of me. So I'm just going to run with this. I'm just to see, you know, how this is going to pan out. I know that a lot of my influences were incredible songwriters. I was just listening to a little bit of your interview with Radney Foster. He's always been one of my favorites, and Dean Dillon, who is, you know, top tier
Yeah.
country music songwriter. So I've always been very intrigued by songwriters, but never
You
really
knew those names at
made that
that
a
young
goal.
age?
Yeah,
Wow.
for sure.
Wow.
I dug into the albums. Any album that I loved, I dug
Awesome.
into who produced
Yeah.
it, who wrote the songs, the players, everything. Um, but anyways, songwriting just kind of it became a world of its own. And then and then a couple of my mentors in Nashville started teaching me how to co-write, and that was a whole new world. I was like, this is so fun. I get to collaborate with somebody on an idea I have and get their perspective. And so I did not expect that I would be a number one songwriter now. Like as an adult, that's
Yep.
really cool. And it's surreal sometimes. So, I expected to be a performer and a singer, but not a songwriter. So it's pretty cool how it's evolved.
And you mentioned mentors and co-writing. I definitely want to chat with you about that in a little while because some of the people that you've written with are a who's who, right? Like
Mm.
you talk about Radney and Dean Dillon. I mean, some of these guys too are pretty badass, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But